Presiding Officer, I was pleased to hear the Cabinet Secretary reaffirm that as the focus now begins to move to recovery and renew phases, the Scottish Government aims to build on policy and practice changes that have shown the potential to be genuinely transformative. I also welcomed the Cabinet Secretary's comments about the importance of lived experience, and with apologies if I missed this in your speech, I wonder if in summing up you can say whether there will be any unpaid carers or people with disabilities on the board of the advisory group. That would be helpful to know. I agree there's an opportunity as we emerge from this period to chart a better way forward in support of all Scotland. The Scottish Government and this Parliament must grab that opportunity with both hands. Cross-party working on the emergency legislation with productive, constructive scrutiny, coupled with unprecedented reprioritisation of resources and powers, have shown what can be done where there's a will to do it. As we plan a route through this crisis, we need that same will to tackle poverty, addiction and inequality. These things also threaten the lives of the citizens we represent. I've said before, as have many others, we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. This health crisis has highlighted and in many cases exacerbated deep existing inequalities which have persisted stubbornly over the decades. The harms caused by the pandemic and the harms of the measures put in place to manage it and save lives are not felt equally, and government responses should reflect that in making decisions. Fairness and quality of life for all our citizens must not only be considered but also acted upon. Things that campaigners have been calling for years, dignified food provision, accessible information, online classes, support with isolation, in a matter of weeks became mainstream. Presiding Officer, 6 minutes doesn't give me enough time to mention all the wonderful volunteers and organisations in my Cunningham South constituency, but I want to say that I'm grateful to each and every one of them and just provide a snapshot of some good work that's going on. Fullerton Hub in my hometown Irvine has 56 volunteers under the leadership of Donna Fitzpatrick, and they're absolutely knocking their pans in 7 days a week. They're doing dog walking and prescription pickup for those who are shielding. They're preparing and delivering 149 fresh meals a day from a very relatively small kitchen, good quality fresh cooked food for those shielding, and it's not just in Fullerton, they're helping people throughout Irvine. They're also providing personal shopping for older folk in the area. I think that's really important because some of what comes with dignity is actually having choice, and it being a personal shopping service gives older people that choice. They decide what messages they're getting. For those needing a helping hand in the community, there's always been a food larder at the centre, well, for sort of 10 months or so. At the moment, that's scaled up hugely, and there are around 200 food parcels going out a week. Presiding Officer, the economic and health challenges in my constituency have been there for a very long time, as has the resilience and strength of the community. I'm also conscious, though, that there'll be many more citizens who were managing or just managing who will be tipped into positions of debt as the economic impact of the pandemic is felt in our communities. Fullerton and other hubs in North Ayrshire have stepped up and provided for our community. They're at the heart of the community, indeed they are the community, and they know what's needed, and the priority is food and tackling isolation. They're delivering and have been since the very start of this crisis. Interestingly, they're also reaching folk who need support but have not had involvement with statutory services before, new connections that can literally be life-saving. I believe government funding should be getting as close as possible to local community groups, and these groups should be valued, trusted, and properly supported and resourced. I know the Third Sector Resilience Fund was designed to be flexible and cut down on red tape, and I should mention that in evidence the Equalities and Human Rights Committee, we heard some really positive feedback about that funding and the ease of application. But I also have a local example of that not being the case, which I'll share with the CabSec if that's okay. I was also struck by evidence from Radiant and Brighter to the committee that the lack of certainty around sustainable funding meant that they didn't actually apply. And I think I can understand why there might be a reticence around setting expectations of help that would only be met short term. And maybe we have to reflect on that, on the impact and potential harm of starting supports and interventions for at-risk people and then having to stop. Where a group have been demonstrably delivering lifeline support and meeting the needs of a community, they shouldn't have to start right back at the beginning in terms of proving their worth and knowledge and funding applications, and they shouldn't have to use their valuable resource, be that time or money, to secure the funding they need to continue. Politicians frequently call on groups like Fullerton Community Association to talk around the country about community empowerment. None of us are ever shy about that, and rightly our small groups and charities deserve praise. But in some ways, presiding officers, our communities don't need empowered in the sense of developing skills, a voice or knowledge. They have all that already. They are powerful. They need a fair distribution of resource. Let's show them with our actions as well as our words that we mean it. Scotland can be a fairer and more equal place for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.